Could this glass of rosé change your entire retirement plan? Welcome to Corks Capital, Decanting Insights from Investment Professionals. I'm your host, Shanthan Pillay, and on the table we have Thobile Mfelang and the False Bay Rosé. So Thobile, we rate our wines out of 3 categories, coming up to a final score of 20, and during the tasting we'll talk about our topic, indexation. So let's kick off with clarity. Typically, a lighter rosé indicates more subtle notes and a lighter bodied wine, while a darker rosé has stronger red fruit notes and a more full bodied wine. This is a lovely light salmon color, so I'd give this a 3 out of 3.
Okay, I'm liking this color as well, so I'm also going to give it a 3 out of 3.
All right, now that we've cleared up the glass, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
All right, my name is Thobile. I've been in asset management for the last 10 years. I've also been working with passive investment funds or indexation funds for the last 5 years at OMIG Investment Group, and we are one of the largest indexation managers out there.
Moving on to nose. Strawberry, hay, floral, a bit of funk. I'd give this a 4 out of 7.
Okay, definitely getting some of those notes that you mentioned. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 7.
So it's commonly thought that rosé is made by blending white and red wine. However, a more common method involves taking the grape juice, leaving it in contact with the grape skin. So this could be either for a couple of days or even a couple of hours. The longer the wine is in contact with the skin, the darker the color of the wine. So now that we know how rosé is made, could you talk to us about how index funds are made?
Perfect. So I'll kick off by first explaining what an index fund is, or what an index is rather. So an index is really a basket of securities that track a particular market. In the South African context, an example would be the JSE Top 40. JSE Top 40 uses the largest 40 funds and then creates an index. Passive investing is a way to then gain exposure to that index by replicating it. So you'll buy all those securities in that index at the same or similar weight, and they're typically low cost, diversified, and they're also quite transparent. And that's really just the selling point of passive investing at a high level.
So let's move on to palate. Cotton candy, berries, red fruit, melon. I'd give this a 7 out of 10.
Definitely tasting a bit of licorice. I'm also going to give this a 7 out of 10. Yeah.
So rosé is a highly versatile wine and can be paired with salads, seafood, and light pastas. Could you talk to us about which investment strategies pair well with index funds?
So the starting points of index funds is that you're getting broad market exposure, right, to a basket of securities. So it's typically low cost, it's typically diversified. So if you're an investor looking for that type of portfolio, then that's for you. But then the other ways that you can use passive investment funds is by blending it with other strategies. So you could then use the passive portfolio as your core. So say allocate about 70 to 80%, and then whatever risk budget then you have, allocate to other active managers as satellites around that core. So the benefits of doing that is that you're bringing down your cost of that portfolio, but also reducing the risk of the portfolio. So that's just one way you could use index funds.
So the wine we're drinking is a blend of Cinsault and Mourvedre. So with index funds, which markets could I get exposure through using your index funds?
So you can get exposure to different markets. You can get exposure to equities, to bonds. So in the case of FTSE JSE indices, you'll get JSE Top 40, which is equity, a large cap equities, or you could use a bond index to get exposure to all to nominal bonds in the South African context. But there's also other indices that you could be using globally. So what we track on in a global perspective is the MSCI World ESG Fund. So we track that. But also what's important is making sure that the manager that you have is able to then manage those portfolios and maintain low differentials and low tracking error.
So in the same way you want a high quality wine, you want a high quality manager.
Definitely.
To ensure you get the best out of those grapes.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for your time, Thobile.
Thank you for having me.
Our final scores are 15 and 14 out of 20 for the False Bay Rosé. I'd like to thank our guest and our director, Sunny Ho. To our audience, I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about indexation. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget, nothing pays better than Corks Capital. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.